Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So today we're messing with the SG Pro 400. This guitar is like not even a year old yet, but I don't care. I don't like the tuners, so they're gonna go. And these are Wilkinson tuners apparently. At least that's what the write-up said, or they got something called something deluxe on here, but whatever. Anyways, we're gonna upgrade them with these modern day tuners. Okay, and I like the style of the tuner key. I just don't like these tuners. They tune well and everything, but once they wear out, they're done, you know. I have yet to ever wear out a set of these kind of keys on any guitar. Okay, and most guitars will come with these modern day tuners, but this particular SG, the Pro 400, does not come with a modern day tuner. So we're also going to need some tools. We're going to need a tapered reamer as well. Now you're going to ream from the top, not from the bottom. You always ream from the top side, okay? And don't take the advice of even the pros out there that use just a tapered reamer, because in my opinion, they're wrong. Because what happens, and you'll see this on the StewMac video especially, because that's all he uses, and you got to ream one side, ream the other, and then you're stuck with a centerpiece that's kind of fat and bulgy in the middle, and you're going to be spending God knows how long scraping that bulge down until it's perfectly concentric, which I don't care how long you've been at this, you're not going to get it 100% perfectly concentric doing it that way, okay? And if you make a mistake, you're not replacing wood, okay? Once the wood's gone, that's it. So if you mess up even on your angle as you're filing that down inside, you're going to make a mess, and that's not cool. So I rather use the right tool for the right job. So the other thing you're going to need is a 10mm straight shanked reamer as well. And you're only going to go at the top side with this tapered one until you get just enough that you can fit this in. And we're going to show you that too and where that sits. So now I got this reamer from wish.com, really cheap. And I got a pack of 9 reamers from Banggood of these straight shanked ones with it. Use the tap handle, so it's got a square head on the back here. These are the style that you want for reamers. Don't use a completely round one because you got nothing to grip with, okay? And a tap handle doesn't cost much. This was like 17 bucks at Home Hardware. Now I'm a Canadian, so hey, there you go for pricing. But anyways, so first thing we got to do, of course, is remove our strings. Now I want to tape off my bridge, okay? I want to leave it on there, so I don't want to pull it off, and I'm not worried about orientation or anything. This is my preference. And the tailpiece, I'll probably just, take it off. I don't care about it. It's nothing to mess with, but I'm definitely going to be taking and taping off that bridge so that it stays in place when I have this thing back upside down later. So anyways, I started loosening off some tuners here. So we're going to loosen off another one. Now, the other thing you're going to need is a small hammer. Okay, so a little girly hammer we call these things. That's what us guys call them. You're going to need a punch with a flat end on it. Alright? Because you got to go from the underside, and we're going to have to punch these old ferrules out, because we're going to be replacing them with these new ones. Alright? Including washers. So anyways, let me get the strings off this, and we'll go to the next stage. Alright guys, we've got our bridge all taped off to keep it in place. Strings are off, so let's pop the tuner out. I'm going to do this in little stages for you guys, just so we're not taking forever on the video. Make sure you got a proper fitting screwdriver too. You want an absolutely perfect slot-free fit for your screws. Now, these new tuners that we're putting on do come with screws, so that's no problem there. But you can use the other ones if you want to, that come with these ones. Now, these are our tuners. Now, you see there's just the shaft here. It's a small shaft, right? Kind of like what these are up in here, right? But you've got a ferrule in here that's punched in or pressed in, but these use this kind of a ferrule system, okay? Like I said, you're going to need the washer too. Now, I'm going to show you how to take these out So I'm just going to take out one. You get the idea. It's going to be the same for the rest. So we just want to save on video time for you guys. Otherwise we're going to be here for quite a while. So flat punch, small one too. Make sure you're on the side. You'll see the ridge inside here. And I'm not going to give you a close-up. You just got to listen to the video. But you'll see the ridge. And what you want to do is give a light tap. And then go to the other side of it. And just do that gently, and then out comes your ferrule. Too simple, right? So this now goes with this. So, and no, this is not 10 millimeter either. At least I don't think it's going to be. I have never done an SG Pro 400. So this is where we're going to take this tuner and we're going to check. And no, it is not 10 millimeters. Okay, so we're definitely going to have to ream this hole with this thing. Alright, so let's flip this over, but first I'm going to remove all the rest of these tuners, so don't go away. Alright guys, so we've got all of our strings off, we've got all of our tuners out, and we're just going to clean up some of this dust while we're at it. Get that garbage out of the way. Okay, so we've got to start with reaming these holes. Now, like I said, these are not 10 millimeter. Okay, if they were, they'd go through top and bottom. But if you want to check, there's our 10 mil, and see it just barely goes in there. And now this has got a slight taper here at the beginning of the reamer. Just barely goes, but that's a lot to try and reef into, and it doesn't go in far enough so that you can get started properly. So you're going to take the reamer. You're going to you don't have to push down hard, but give some bottom support to your headstock and just keep carving. And do not tape off the top of the bottom, because you do not want your reamers blades gummed up with tape, or they're not going to cut, and it's going to be a royal pain to try and get that gooey crap out of there. Now these things do not gouge cut. I actually got these reamers. This tapered reamer came from wish.com, so Chinese suppliers. And the same with my straight shank. I bought a set of 9 of these at Bang Good. And that was a really good deal, considering my local machine shop wanted $38 for just the 10 millimeter reamer. So I was actually glad I bought the taper too, because you need the taper to get it started. You don't want a taper reamer both ends, because it's not going to come out concentric. You're going to have a bulge in the middle. Okay? You don't want that, because otherwise you're going to be sitting there for hours trying to get that bulge out of there. And you could mess up the hole too. And I don't care how long some of these alleged pros have been doing this, you'd never ever use a taper reamer both sides. So, I mean, look at it this way. If you get a professional shop that only uses a tapered reamer and then files the insides down, and you're paying by the hour, it's going to cost you about probably 3 or 4 times more money to have them do it, if that's all they use, as opposed to a shop that uses a taper and a straight shank, which is not going to charge you near as much for the same job. So the important thing here is keeping things straight as you're digging down in. You don't want to go off course with this, so when you're using the straight shank, take it very carefully. You're going to have to put a bit of down pressure. You're going to feel a little bit of wiggle, but that's okay. Now what I do is I have my finger here, my middle finger, right on the inside of the hole underneath. so I can feel when that reamer is actually touching my finger. Then I move my finger out of the way. So now my finger's out of the way of the hole. Through. Yep, I can feel that reamer now. So this is where you want to back off on the pressure a bit. Now, even though I can feel the reamer on the other side, remember there's a slight taper in the front of this reamer. So I go down, and now I'm past that area. So now we just wiggle her out. And you can see the back side, we did not chip it. It's all good. So now we just got to drop our first tuner in, okay, which is not this one. Goes on the other side. So that's going to be this tuner. Okay, so your tuner's in, and you can stick in the rest of your parts. Put your screw in there. Away you go. Jake's your uncle. Piece of cake. So I'm going to go finish off all these holes and get them all done. And we'll go from there. But now these particular keys, just let me grab the other one here. These are going to line up perfect with the bottom hole, okay, as far as that way goes. But you're going to know your angle once you get things set, whether or not that hole is going to be a perfect hole or not. You'll know by the way the keys sit from where they sat before, if they're going to be dead on for these holes. They should be fine. We're going to find out, and we're going to come back and show you that too. But that's our first hole, you know. So if you look, try and jam it in there, you can't. Can't be done. It's got to go in. Voila. Alright guys, so hey, don't go away. This is instant stuff for you. Just I'm going to be at this for another little while. Hey guys, thought I'd come back for a quick second here. In case you're wondering what the original size of the hole is on the SG, it's 8.4 millimeter. So, which is why you got to ream that hole out a little bit for the tapered and then put the 10 in. Now, someone's going to make this comment, so I'll save you that trouble. Alright, why not just get a equivalent to a 10 millimeter drill bit? Okay, number one, the equivalent drill bits are not really 10 millimeter. Okay, you need a pure 10 millimeter actual metric drill bit, and I would not advise it for the simple fact that when you look at the hole size difference, 8.4 to 10, you're not going to get that bit on there dead centered properly. Okay, unless you get some real expensive equipment you can jig up, and even at that, it's not going to be 100%. In which case you could skate your hole the wrong way. Okay, so this is why you don't use a drill bit, because believe me, I thought about it, because I have a 10 millimeter drill bit from when I had my machine shop. I had a lot of specialty drills, and one of which was a 10 millimeter for some of the stuff I had to do, and that was fine for doing that stuff, but for working on this, no, absolutely do not use a drill bit. Don't even try and step drill, okay? With different size drill bits or a step drill, it's not going to work well for you. You're going to make a terrible mess, and when you're working on expensive guitars, you don't screw around. You use the right tool for the job. In this case, it's two different reamers. So just thought I'd throw that in there for you. Now I'm still continuing. I got 4 more holes to go, but we'll be right back. It's instant for you guys. Alright guys, so we've got our tuners installed and the screws in. Now the screw holes did line up fine on the bottom ends. Yeah, little flip here. So the bottom screws that were in your original tuners do line up fine with these ones. So that went great. And you can just barely see where the other original screw holes were. It's something you got to kind of live with, you know, if you're going to upgrade to this style of a tuner. But, like, who cares? I don't. I would rather have really awesome tuners than tuners that I don't particularly care for. So, anyways, you will find on these washers there's a really super flat look on the one side and kind of like a rounded top. The rounded top part is the part you want facing up. And then you're going to take a 10mm socket or wrench and you're going to snug these up. So I left this part so that you guys could see. Now, you're going to feel tension, quite a bit of it actually, and then that's a good stopping point for now. Do your other ones, get them out of the way. Because you don't want to over torque these and strip the threads inside the tuners either. Some guys actually turn them down too tight and then you end up seeing your wood of your headstock getting, the tuners get sucked into the wood, and that's bad. So what I like to do is I like to just tighten these right up first so they're snug. You don't reef the hell out of them. Then I let them sit there for a couple minutes because it's going to compress the wood. Wood always moves and wood will compress. And just because I know that if I don't do it this way, in about 2 weeks from now I'm going to hear buzzing going on, and it's not going to be my fretboard, it's going to be these washers. And time to time you do actually have to adjust these nuts, and I would suggest as soon as you hear like a little rattling sound, that would be a good indication that's this. It won't be your fretboard. Okay, and then just check them, like even with a straight 10mm wrench, just give them a little tiny snug up, and that's all they need, you know, because they do back off over time, because depending on your where you live, wood is affected, well, actually anywhere on the planet, wood is affected by heat and humidity, but different times of the year and temperatures, wood will either shrink or it'll expand. Generally, in high humidity, it expands, and low humidity, it shrinks. So, you know, that's what you got to look at on all guitars. So there's always a maintenance factor somewhere. You know, I mean, one of the nice things about these old school style things is you don't have to worry about that part. But I don't like these pressed in ferrules, because what happens is over years of use, these pressed in ferrules, because they're not really a strong metal anyways, they can wear oblonged. That does happen. Or there's so much expansion and compression of the wood that these eventually let go, and putting new ones in is completely useless, because you're putting them into the same size hole and they're just going to be sloppy. So eventually, one way or another, you may have to upgrade to a better tuner, or you're going to have to find another resolve like crazy glue or something to keep those compressed in ferrules in place. So now this is sit for a couple minutes. We're just going to another snug, check them out. I like to have these somewhat tight, but not overly excessive. That one's pretty tight. Okay, so another thing I wanted to point out in the video is when you're putting on new tuners, you're going to notice there's some play. Okay, that play without these collars on can be kind of a little excessive on some tuners, but not so much on others. It kind of is a variable thing, but it won't affect your tuning stability, and it will stiffen right up a lot once you get these ferrules in place. You know, and you can tell even from, you know, these tuners here. These are the Wilkinsons. There's some side play, you know, and check the in and outs. Now, technically you shouldn't have in and out play, but I talked to my buddy at Long & McQuaid, and he said even brand new high-end tuners have a little bit of in and out play, you know, which is something that you just got to deal with. I mean, it doesn't affect your tuning, You know, if it's excessive, well, then you definitely got a bad tuner. Here's a set of tuners that I picked up. These are I got these for my Takamine, and one of the things about the play, that's actually really decent. There's not much, no real gap there. Take another one, a little bit of play, a little bit of gap, not bad. He checked these over for me, and he said they were just fine. You know, if I wanted to take them apart and check them, because sometimes what can happen with some of this in and out play that goes on is at the factory the screw wasn't tightened enough. You know, I mean, these are hand assembled. You know, so I did actually pop one apart and checked it, and it did take up a little bit of that play for the in and out part. So that helped, but the side play, it's not an issue. Don't worry about that. So otherwise you're good to go. So anyways, eventually I gotta slam these onto a guitar. I'm actually thinking about now picking up Grovers for my Takamine, because it is a really expensive guitar, and I didn't pay a lot for these tuners. You know, so it's kind of like, I do have a guitar they'll go on. I have actually a Fender guitar that I'm going to throw them onto. Not that there's anything wrong with the tuners. They're fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. They're going to work great, no problems. I just got to thinking, well, you know, my higher end guitars, like my Les Paul, is going to get Grovers with this Keystone or Tulip design. What it came with was silver kidneys, and I'm changing my hardware all to gold as much as I can on the Les Paul. So I want to put you know, the Grovers on there, and so I can retain the value of my Les Paul as well as at the same time having some really sweet tuners that I like. You know, and people have a lot of opinions on other tuners out there, and you know, don't worry about it, guys. I have my own preferences too, so you're not going to talk me into buying something else that costs you even 10 times as much, so it ain't going to happen. Anyhow, so we've got these on. Now I've adjusted my tension on this screw so that they're just nice and snug, and that gives me plenty of tension for my tuning, and I'm quite happy with how that turned out. So that's all good to go. So the next thing is to restring this puppy and tune her up, and voila. So just a little tidbit for you guys too before we go. With the reamer, once you find your first taper hole, nice fit for this taper, for the straight shank, put the taper reamer back in and run some electrical tape around it while it's in there, and that'll be your stopping point. So every time you hit the tape, that's your stopping point, and you can just ream them all one shot, not have to, you know, ream and check, because what I've been doing is like ream and check, and then I got to thinking, well, you know, you can't put a drill stop collar on these things, but electrical tape works, you know. And so I put her back in the hole when I knew it was the size that is great, and ran some electrical tape around it, and voila. And then I just redid all the other ones the same, and that got this tool out of the way faster for me, and you know, so a little bit of info for you. And every once in a while, you know, pull the reamer out and clean the wood crap off of it, same as this one here, you know. Take a few turns, like 5, 10 turns, and then just kind of gently back it off and pull it out, and blow out the wood dust out of here and out of the hole, and just keep going, and voila. And but anyways, yeah, so bang good for these straight shanks. These are cut and they're really nice. And the tapered one I got from Wish, but Bang Good has the tapered one as well. These are pretty good tools for, you know, little amount of money, you know. So quite happy with how they work, and they do perfect holes. So, you know, that's what you need, right? So I'm sure they'll last me for a long time. And if I do ever need to sharpen them, I know of a shop in North Bay that'll sharpen them for me. Or, well, I actually should call them first and find out, do you sharpen reamers? But if not, I'll just buy new ones. Who cares? So I'm going to put 10 to 46 D'Addarios back onto this guitar, because I like the 10 gauge on this thing. It works really well. So that's all I've got for you for this video. We don't need to show you how to restring a guitar, I'm sure. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. So if you do have an older guitar, doesn't matter if they're Wilkinson or what they are, if they're old crappy tuners, you know, on a real old guitar like I did the Mansfield for my buddy, and you want modern day tuners that have you know, even better tuning stability, and you don't ever have to worry about them either wearing out because they're permanently lubed, right? These things are not lubed, you know, so that's the thing. It's like eventually these are going to wear because of no lubricant, but I don't care for them. I don't like this style, but it came with the SG, and to get an SG with this on it, this exact same style tuner, would have been a different brand though, I would have had to pay hundreds of dollars more. So why? You know, I can upgrade. It's not rocket scientist stuff. Now, one final word though. Being that if you're not doing an SG, you're going to be doing like an inline 6-head stock, for example, or some other guitar that doesn't have these 2 screw holes where one of them will be in the right place, you may have to re-drill, in which case you get your tuner lined up perfect, okay, to where you need it, and then you grab a 1/16 drill bit. And I like these manual drills. Now this thing's older than I am, but you can still get manual drills even like this, okay? And you just go back and forth, like in a little shaking motion on the gear train, and you carefully bore that new screw thread hole. Don't go down very far. You don't need to go far, okay? Just a little bit, or you're going to come out the other side of your headstock, and then you're going to be pissed at yourself. Do it that way, and then you can pre-tap the hole for the screws, okay? Because these screws are very fine, and it does not take much to screw up the screw head on the screws. And again, perfect sized, no play allowed in the screwdriver bit. So if that means you got to go buy a new screwdriver that perfectly fits these screws, that's what you do. Or you're going to screw stuff up. Trust me, been there, done that, wrote the book and burnt it from the past. So I've learned from years of experience, you use the right tool for the job. So, and just because it's a screwdriver and a star tip don't mean it's right. It's got to fit perfect. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Catch you on the next one.